interested in his conspiracy theories. Like this guy, David Icke, an unfathomable amount of stories that this guy has. He has books out. He has everything out. David Icke. He appeared on the Alex Jones show many times, and I'm fully and totally, completely aware of everything that's going on with Alex Jones, for the simple fact that when I was a smaller kid, okay, I used to watch Alex Jones as a pure form of satirical comedy. Me and my buddies used to sit around and watch his videos and make fun of him, and it was a great time. Then I stopped watching it, and I stopped because I moved and we didn't hang out anymore. There was a lot of really funny things happening in the world at the time. Obama, then after Obama, I feel like maybe it was as soon as it wasn't when Trump got into the office, but it was when Trump started running for office. I started noticing a lot of really weird things, not even just in our country, but in other countries too, and around the world. And there was a lot of weird rhetoric and the way that the left just kind of started to snowball further and further and further left into this kind of leftist socialism that you see now, and the kind of policies that they want to push. It was almost like it was overnight. It's like everything was going fine. It's kind of like you think about the Mandela effect or something. It's like you're so used to a certain thing for so long and everything's nice and normal, and then you wake up one day and everything's different. It's the same, but it's different. Like you just woke up in a parallel universe or something. It's crazy. You just, like, you're the same person. You haven't changed. But the other people have changed. You still hold the same values and morals, but they don't. And then overnight, it seems like it just, everything just got so extreme, which is really insane. But I digress. This whole thing that I was talking about, it made me remember a lot of the things that Alex Jones was talking about, and I remember seeing this guy on his show. It got me thinking about the things that I used to watch on his show 10 plus years ago, and then all the things that he was talking about, not all of them, but there were a fair number of things that he cited that might happen that seem like they're really actually happening, which is so insane. Things that someone got called the craziest conspiracy theorist for ever mentioning that it was real. And I got a couple things that I'm going to get into later about that. And it's like conspiracy fact, things that have been labeled a controversial conspiracy theory, and all these people that were talking about it were just like the craziest dingbats of the world. And then people like Bill Gates just come out and be like, oh yeah, we're doing that, by the way, no big deal, it's real. And then everyone moves on with their lives and forgets it. So that's why I want to talk about it, because people just stopped talking about it. Now, this is one of the craziest things that I've seen David Icke talk about that actually has like some kind of forbearance and correlation with some other things that have happened in history, in recent history. So let's read into this. This is the Express. Don't know about that too much. But this is David Icke claims the moon is hollow and built by aliens in crazy new theory. This is way back in 2016. I'm pretty sure he talked about that a lot earlier than that, but this is published by an article by John Austin in 2016. Now, Mr. Icke earlier this month told Andrew Neil, BBC's This Week, the royal family were reptilian aliens. A bizarre theory about how our moon got there. Mr. Icke reached the conclusion after taking a leap from general scientific consensus to say that the moon shouldn't really be there. Many scientists agree that the size of the moon is one of our solar system's biggest anomalies. 25 years ago, Mr. Ike shocked Britain by coming out as the son of the Godhead during a press conference and subsequent appearance on Prime Chat show in Wogan. Now, it just goes on to say a whole bunch of absurdities, and he's talking about how the moon is hollow and how little green people live inside of it. Not really little green people, but like demonic reptilian people. Yeah. He talks about a little bit of physics and something that a couple of other scientists have actually said is physics have been unable to explain why a planet the size of Earth has a moon such a large size in comparison. Our moon would be expected to be about 40 miles in diameter, like a super large asteroid, but is closer to 2,000 miles. Mr. Ike deducted that because of this, it must have been artificially built rather than being broken off Earth after it was hit by another planet. They have no bloody clue where the moon came from, and it shouldn't, by physics, be there. The Earth not only has a satellite, but a giant satellite. Yeah, that's where it goes on to say that it's hollow and some of the other things. But there's a thing NASA was doing not that long ago. There's a second one. See, this is Sputnik 1. The first artificial satellite probed like 3 bombs. There was a more recent one. Now SpaceX has a rocket actually heading over there. There we go. This is what I was looking for. NASA slammed a rocket body into the moon for science 10 years ago today. This is exactly what I was thinking about. 10 years ago today, on October 9th, NASA slammed a hunk of space junk into the moon, forever changing our perception of Earth's nearest neighbor. The space agency's Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite, LCROSS, and LRO missions launched together on June 18th, riding atop a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket. It sped to lunar orbit, where it continues to operate today. But LCROSS remained attached to the Atlas V's center upper stage, and when it went into a long elliptical path around the Earth, it put it into an intentional collision course with the moon. Now, I can't remember how many megatons of TNT it actually said that it hit with, but one of the craziest things is that when it hit the moon, they said that it rang like a bell, which is pretty crazy. It's talking about how David Icke thought that the moon was hollow. I'm not saying that the moon is hollow. I'm just citing some of the things that I've read before and was kind of crazy. And some of the other crazy things that I've heard about before that people are actually admitting to now is HARP and geoengineering, chemtrails, and whatever else you want to call it. 10 years ago, it was a total conspiracy. Now all the global elitists and the highest dollar philanthropists are donating all kinds of money and investing money and making these huge projects now in an effort to challenge climate change. Oh. This is from a search, just to give you a general description of what HARP is. HARP is a target of conspiracy theorists who claim that it is capable of weaponizing weather. Commentators and scientists say that the advocates of this theory are uninformed and claims made fall well outside the abilities of this facility, if not the scope of natural science. The high-frequency active auroral research program began in 1990. And now there is actual conspiracy theories about HARP and other weather modifications being used in Vietnam to flood them out. And geographically and historically, they say that it is not nearly as rainy of a climate in that area than it was during the entire time that we took part in that battle or the war. It makes you gotta wonder, it's kind of creepy, kind of crazy. And also, China's developing their own weather modification, and they're pretty public about it. They actually like talking about it. And they also have another thing that's kind of sort of like this, but instead of pointing it up at the sky and activating the ionosphere to try to get a reaction, they point it through the earth and refract it through the crust to come back to another period on the globe. And they actually made an article. I didn't really look for it. It just kind of hit my mind and made me think of it. They had an article out where they were talking about they didn't say that they could, but they said that they believe that they can trigger earthquakes with this thing. That would be an interesting, different kind of warfare, if you think about it. This modern era. And then we get onto the chemtrails in this part of the conspiracy theory. The chemtrail conspiracy theory posts an erroneous belief that long-lasting condensation trails are chemtrails consisting of chemical or biological agents left in the sky by high-flying aircraft sprayed for nefarious purposes undisclosed to the general public. Believers in this conspiracy theory say that the normal contrails dissipate relatively quickly, which is, that's true. Contrails that linger must contain additional substances. Those who subscribe to the theory speculate that the purpose of the chemtrails chemical release may be solar radiation management, weather modification, psychological manipulation, human population control, biological or chemical warfare, or testing biological or chemical agents on a population, and that the trails causing respiratory illness and other health problems. The claim has been dismissed by the scientific community. There is no evidence perpetrated that the chemtrails differ from normal water-based contrails routinely left behind by flying aircraft under certain atmospheric conditions. Although proponents have tried to prove that the chemical spraying occurs, their analysis has been flawed and on base misconceptions. Because of persistences in the conspiracy theory, questions about the government involvement, scientists and government agencies around the world have repeatedly explained that the substances and the supposed chemtrails are in fact normal contrails. The term chemtrail blends words chemical and trail just like blends condensation trail, just so you know. And there's a little history article on it. Started in 1996. We don't really gotta get into all that. There's so much. But we actually get into Forbes. This is a Forbes article, an editor's pick also, by Ariel Cohen, the contributor. Now, this says, Microsoft's billionaire founder Bill Gates is financially backing the development of sun-dimming technology that would potentially reflect sunlight out of the Earth's atmosphere, triggering a global cooling effect. The stratosphere, controlled by perturbation experiment launched by Harvard University scientists, aims to examine this solution by spraying non-toxic calcium carbonate dust into the atmosphere. The sun-reflecting aerosol that may offset the global warming effects. Widespread research into the efficacy of geoengineering has been stalled for years due to controversy. Opponents in the belief in such science come from unpredictable risk, including extreme shifts in weather patterns not dissimilar to warming trends that we are already witnessing. Environmentalists similarly fear that dramatic strategy will be treated as a green light to continue emitting greenhouse gases with little to no chances in current consumption and production patterns. It will take a small step in its early research this June. This is a recent article in 2021. So this June, this year, near the town of Kiruna, Sweden, where the Swedish Space Corporation has agreed to help launch a balloon carrying scientific equipment 12 miles high. The launch will not release any stratospheric aerosols. Rather, it will serve to test as a maneuver the balloon and examine communications for operational systems. If successful, this could be a step towards a second experimental stage that would release a small amount of the dust into the atmosphere. Further research on this and similar methods could lead to reductions in risk and improve efficacy of solar engineering methods, geoengineering methods. Now, the one thing that you got to think about is all the chemtrail stuff. It's been highly, highly controversial, and I will tell you right now that the United States military complex does research all the time, no matter what. They don't have to disclose it to you, and usually they don't. There's top secret programs going all the time, non-stop. Even right now, there's probably a whole bunch of things that we haven't even touched on yet, like the whole Space Force thing and all this and that. There's all kinds of insanity that you can believe, or at least start touching and getting into. Now, if the U.S. government, especially the military, if they had been doing stuff like this, using the Air Force or some odd means for research purposes, Bill Gates could be a perfect person to start investing money into it, as a way to start bringing it out into the public, to make it known and to make it a normal thing. That could just be step one of publicizing this entire endeavor. And I don't think we'll know until maybe they said that it was going to start in June. Maybe we'll think about it around that time and head back into it and see if something's actually going on.